We know that you guys love our swimming videos and it's great that you leave so many comments below, but it has made us realise that there's still quite a few questions. So I have collated a selection from some of our recent videos, but also from a recent social media post. So I'm going to be answering questions on pool buoys, swimming training at home, intervals, arm cadence, basically anything and everything to do with swim training. There's a lot to get through, so here goes. We're going to start off with some pull related questions. We've got a selection here. Brian Amador says, what does pull swim mean? I'm worried I rely on using the pull buoy too much. Any advice? That comes from V Stallions. And then from Lixie82 1991 says, is it normal to be faster with a pull buoy than without, or is my kick that bad? Well, when we talk about pull, which we do quite a lot here on GTN, we're basically meaning swimming with your arms only. So that's taking your legs out of the equation, whether just not using them or actually putting a pull buoy or some sort of float between them. It's focusing solely on the arms. Now, using a pull buoy will actually make your hips float, so it'll help with your body position overall, which then in turn will usually make you swim faster. So if you're swimming slow without a pull buoy, it doesn't necessarily mean your kick is bad. It maybe just means that your hip position or your body position is suboptimal. So using a pull buoy in training is a great aid, but it needs to remember that it's just an aid. It's not there. It's not something you can obviously take with you into a race. So use it for parts of your session when you want to focus solely on your arms or you want to reinforce that correct body position. But you still need to make sure you balance it out with doing plenty of sessions and main sets without it, so that you can focus on your leg kick and focus on how you need to get your body in that position without an aid. That said, if you're doing an open water swim with a wetsuit and you've got a wetsuit that's appropriate to your swim ability, you can have quite a few that will aid the buoyancy around your hip area, so it can almost have the similar effect to a pull buoy. So don't worry if you've got an open water swim coming up, you might feel better than you expect. This next bunch of questions is focusing on what you can do away from the pool to benefit your swimming. So we've got a question from Marco Saw This, who says, what swim training can he do at home? We've got Katie Hancock 2, ways to maintain swim fitness if your pool was maybe closed. And then what are the best out of water strength to build strength and speed in the water? That comes from C Cranich 88. Well, not going to the pool can maybe seem a little frustrating, but there is still plenty you can actually do away from the water that can help benefit your swimming, both in the immediate term, but also in the long term. If you watch any professional swimmers, you'll realize that they do a lot of strength and conditioning exercises away from the pool. And we have actually made a video on dry land exercises specifically for swimming, so I suggest checking that one out for a few more ideas. But then when it comes to your cardiovascular fitness, you are going to have to think outside the box a little bit. So maybe using bike and run to help complement that as much as you can. If you've got access to a rowing machine, there's quite a lot of crossover there with the muscle recruitment, but obviously you're going to get great fitness from something like that. And if you're lucky enough to, say, have a swim bench, then that's another good alternative. Now moving our focus towards distance when it comes to swimming. First question from Triathlon, how to train for long distance? Is anaerobic workouts any good for long distance training? That comes from Christos 005, and George Penner 28 says, is the best way to train by just doing 1,500 meters daily? Well, if you have got a long distance swim, then I hate to break it to you, you are going to have to spend a fair amount of time either in the pool or doing some open water swimming. But on the plus side, doing high mileage in the pool is going to put less stress for your body than, say, doing a high mileage in running. Although you do still need to build it up gradually and make sure you incorporate plenty of strength and conditioning, especially focusing on making sure you can keep your shoulders pain-free. In answer to Christos 005, your swim training doesn't all need to be slow and boring. You'll see Olympic marathon swimmers, so they'll be training for 5 and 10K swims, still doing some really tough anaerobic workouts in the pool, but alongside that, they're still going to be completing a lot of aerobic mileage. And George Penner 28, I hate to be blunt here, but the answer is no. You really don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again because A, it's going to get really boring, but also your body isn't going to be able to adapt and get stronger if you're just repeatedly doing the same session. So you want to make sure you mix things up. You do some short, faster stuff with some interval work. You do some longer, steady swims, and that'll just help keep you more interested and want to go to the pool more often. But if you want some specific training ideas, we've actually got a video on 3 weekly essential swim workouts on GTN, so go and check those out. Our next question comes in from Hugo Sanchez 616, who says, is arm cadence a thing? Is it important to improve power to also improve cadence? Well, arm cadence is a thing, but it just comes under a different label. So it's either talked about as stroke rate or maybe strokes per minute, and sometimes even strokes per length, depending on your coach. But we tend to talk about it as stroke rate here. And the old school thought was the longer the stroke rate, the better, so the slower. But that isn't necessarily so, especially if you watch open water professional swimmers. You want to try and improve that stroke rate to get your arms moving around quicker, and it's finding that optimum of being able to move your arms quickly but without slipping any of the water. So it is a matter of balance when it comes with the strength and stroke rate. You obviously want to improve your strength at the same time, but if your stroke rate gets too high, then you're going to be slipping the water. You could be losing some of the catch at the front of the water, or maybe you're coming out too soon at the back, and then you're basically wasting energy. So I'd suggest practicing it in training, maybe short sections at a time. So popping some fins on is a good way to just naturally make you go faster through the water, and then you can help get your stroke rate going quicker at the same time. But bear in mind, increasing your stroke rate can be quite fatiguing, so just take it in small chunks at a time. Next, we're going to look at drills. We've got a question from #Matt Roberts, says, what are the must-do drills that even the pros do? And Prasad Watha, best drill to correct breathing technique. Well, there are so many different drills out there for your stroke, so I would suggest checking out some of our drill-specific videos because I can't cover them all right now. But you need to identify the issues that you've got with your stroke, so things you want to correct, and then find a drill that's going to work for that. And as for what the pros do, well, Lucy Charles has actually done a video with us on her 5 pro tips to swim faster, and I'd suggest checking that one out too. A lot of you don't have access to open water much before a race, so there's quite a few questions around this topic. And our first one from Maya9979, how to practice open water in the swimming pool. And then Trisport Nicole says, what's the best way to practice sighting when you're limited to the pool? Well, open water training is actually a great way to just spice up your normal training. So it's a good idea if you can find some friends, and you could maybe try swimming alongside each other in a close environment, so you're replicating that mass start, and then maybe even do a drill when you're following behind each other, so you're drafting, which obviously makes it a bit easier when you're actually behind someone. You can do it almost like a chain gang, so the person at the front peels off after each length and goes to the back, so you can do that with a fairly big group. And say you've got a swimming pool with a deep end, or it's just deep enough that you can't touch the bottom, practice some open water starts. Just use your imagination. There's quite a lot you can do, but if you want some specific tips, we've actually got a video on 8 tips for training for open water in a swimming pool, so check that out on our channel. If you want to focus on sighting, you can simply pop something at the end of the lane that you need to lift your head up over a few strokes and take a look at, or maybe it's even the clock and you can then use it to help with your pacing. If you can, I'd suggest doing this with someone next to you or a few of you, so again, it's replicating that open water scenario. And water polo is another good drill that's going to help get you strong, but also just get you practicing just getting your eyes out of the water, so you can do water polo but keeping your mouth in as to replicate sighting. This next question is maybe a little bit more unique. It's from Hannah Louise Mill, and she says, I'm a strong swimmer. How much time should I spend on this discipline? Well, Hannah, it does depend what you're training for, because say you're doing a sprint or Olympic distance race that's actually draft legal, the swim plays a far bigger part than it does in a non-drafting, say, Ironman distance race where you don't need to worry about making the pack. So say it is a race like that, then I would suggest just doing 2 or 3 swims a week and using your energy and your time to focus on what might be your weaker disciplines, the bike and the run, because after all, the percentage of the swim in an Ironman is very much smaller than the cycling and the running phase. Looking at session specifics, we've got a couple of questions on this topic. This one from R.A.D 2004. Best training session for short and mid-distance swimming in triathlon. And DG Lucent says, which is better, short intervals or long intervals for the same distance workout? Well, trying to narrow it down to one swimming session is pretty tough, and obviously it depends what distance you're meaning. But let's say I can take 400 meters if that was your race. I'm gonna choose one of my favorites, and it's based around 50. So 8 lots of 50 meters at race pace with 30 seconds rest after each 50. And then follow that up with 100 meters, super easy. And repeat that whole set either once more through or twice, depending on where you're at. And it's a meaty one, but if you give it a go, do let me know how you get on. You can do that in the comments section below. And in answer to DG Lucent, I would say mix it up. You don't really need to be sticking to one or the other, as it gives a variety to your training and you'll be working different systems physically, but also changing things mentally. Wow, after all of that, I'm actually feeling quite inspired to go for a swim myself, and that's quite a big thing, trust me. So thank you guys for all of those questions. Hopefully I've managed to answer some of yours today, and if there's been any pointers that you're going out to try, let us know how you get on with those. And remember to check out the videos that I mentioned for some specific tips, and also on all our social media channels, because we've often got really short snippets of swim tips on there. So check those out, give them a follow and a like.